Hello, I'm François with the Empathic Coaching Revolution. In this video, I'll show you a proven way to do your first practice session so you can build your confidence as a coach and get started right away. There are three parts to it: the mindset, the roadmap, and the empathic presence. In terms of mindset, when you coach someone, you are on their side. No matter what challenges a client is going through in their lives, you are their trusted ally. And that in itself is a powerful gift that opens up for positive change. It's also important to trust that the person can change. I suggest to people that they see the person in the future as already having achieved what they want to achieve. This is really powerful and impactful when you approach coaching that way. Another focus that I suggest to have is focusing on contribution. Like simply, you are here to serve. Give yourself the gift of being in that place of doing whatever you can do to contribute to that precious human being. Another part of the mindset is to trust the empathic coaching process. You can rely on it. No matter what happens, you can trust the power of that process. Let's now look at the basic roadmap of empathic coaching. It is made out of 5 core questions. And the first question is simply, what do you want? It's a way to start the session, or you can say it differently. You can say, what would you like to see happen differently in your life? That's the first part. The second question is, if you were to have that, if you were to have what you want for your life or what you want to see happen differently, what would having that do for you? What would having that do for you? That's the second question. The third question is, how will you know that you manage to have what you want? How will you know that you manage to have it? The fourth question is, what might you lose that you value if you were to have what you want? And the fifth question of this basic roadmap process, of course there's all kind of other variations, but for the basic roadmap, the fifth question is, how can you have both? How can you have what you want and also what you might lose that you value if you were to have it? So this is the basic roadmap of empathic coaching. So let's go through a quick example of the 5 questions. So let's imagine the first question you ask is, what do you want, or what would you like to see happen differently in your life? And the person says, oh, I'd like to have a better relationship with my wife. Right, so that's the starting point. Then you ask, what would having that do for you? Then the person says, well, I would feel so much better and I would be so much more relaxed now. It's really stressful, all these arguments and fights, and it's hard for me to focus at work, and I don't sleep well, my mood is not the best. So that's a typical answer you would get to that second question. So now you ask the third question, you say, how will you know that you managed to have a better relationship with your wife? So, well, I guess our time together would be more pleasant. We would fight less, it would be easier to make decisions, and I would feel better overall. There's some examples of how the person would know that the relationship is going better. Of course, we could deepen that, make it more precise, but for now, let's say, for this example, let's say that it's enough. What might you lose that you value if you were to have this quality of relationship with your wife? Now, usually it's a harder question. Oftentimes people say, well, I wouldn't lose anything, but you know, we help them to find something, because that's really key. That's the unconscious fears. So in this case, let's see that the person goes deep and finds something, and they might say, look, I think it would be much better, but maybe I would lose some sense of my own autonomy or my own freedom, or just my ability to choose what I want to do for myself. Now the fifth question comes and you ask the client, so how could you have both? What you want and what you might lose that you value? And usually they can find it pretty quickly, or you can help them. So the typical way to answer that question might look like, well, I could be really, really clear on the things that I want absolutely to do, that I have to do just with me. Don't have to do it with the couple. Just be clear with myself, and then talk about it openly with my wife. And actually, I'm pretty sure that she would be fine with that. She doesn't want to spend all her time with me, and she also has some things that she wants to do just by herself. So that would be, short example of going through the cycle of the 5 questions. And then after that, you brainstorm with the client 3 to 5 action items that could be done in relation to what you talked about through the session. So in this case, the client might have a first action item might be that I'll write a list of the things that I find difficult with my wife. The second thing might be I'll write a list of the things that are just for myself that I absolutely want to keep doing. The third action item might be that I'll start writing an outline of how I could approach my wife with that. And the fourth action item might be that I'll get some support. I'll talk with some friends, or maybe I'll talk to my coach or therapist. I'll talk to someone to just have a place for me to air all my difficulties with my wife. And that would be the typical end of a first session. Now, in terms of empathic presence, what makes the modality of empathic coaching so powerful is really its empathic aspect. Our ability to be there, to be present, to be fully available, to leave space for the person to express, for us to focus on listening, is really what makes it stand out from the other types of coaching that I know. So, as you go through the questions that I described earlier, you bring this empathic presence. You provide empathic space. So you ask the question, person answers, and you leave space for them to speak freely. Let's say most of the time, as long as they want. Because your presence is really, really key. That's a big part of the gift. Big part of what can lead to a transformation. You can ask some sub-questions in the roadmap. Any version of tell me a bit more, would you give me an example? Kind of clarity questions. And each time they say something, you listen, you bring your presence, and you can also reflect what you hear, highlighting how they might feel and what's important to them. What is it that they might need in relation to what they just spoke about? Or you can just reflect your understanding of what they just said. You could say, let me see if I get this, or here's what I'm hearing. As part of the empathic field is also to reflect verbally. And you go in this type of dance for the whole session. So that's it. And on the end, it doesn't sound so much like a questionnaire. It's really looks and feels like a deep and profound way to be with someone else, to be with the client, where you are available, super present, and in bringing the quality of the empathic field to the conversation. So you might be wondering, do I do that for 1 hour? Just only with 5 questions and some sub-questions and some empathic reflection? The answer is yes. You will be surprised. Unless, which is rare, you find someone has not much to say. Like I said, it's pretty rare. But typically when you give the opportunity to someone to start talking, they will take it. It's not uncommon to have clients go for 5-10 minutes sometimes. And it can go really deep. They can start to cry, they can touch all kinds of emotions. And you be with them, then you accompany them with some sub-questions or some core questions, and you reflect and you dance with them. And this could take easily 45 minutes to an hour. And in your practice sessions, if it doesn't do that, if it takes, half an hour, that's fine for now. And through the rest of the modality, there's much more to the modality of empathic coaching. If you want to learn more, there's all kind of other roadmaps or other processes that you can bring depending on what's happening with the client. But to get started, really focus on the 5 core questions and brainstorming action items. So as usual, give it a try, tell me how it goes. You can send me an email, I'll do my best to give you my answers as quickly as possible. And in the meantime, just enjoy the learning, because this is something that can become really, really meaningful for you and for the people that you contribute to. Alright, bye for now.